Hello, people on the internet watching internet videos that have to do with cars. Welcome to this. My 1974 RA21 Toyota Celica ST, powered by a Toyota Tundra 2UZ VVTi V8. If you're new and you missed out on the last video where I was working on this, up above my head is either a link to that last video or also could be a delicious recipe for platypus egg omelets. As I fast forward you and turn an hour and a half worth of wiring into about 5 seconds, I have now gotten everything engine related taken care of, made my updates and changes to that part of the harness. And before I can get the radiator and fans in here, this spaghetti mess must be devoured. The power cable I created to connect the rear mounted battery up to the alternator and the engine bay fuse panel is gonna be right next to the header. It's literally just a hair too long. Granted, I cut this before I mounted this new bracket. Carefully dissect this robot snake. Now I gotta shorten this by a smidgen. I left a little bit of excess when I first designed this. Oh, I can go shorter. Just in case when I made the bracket for the fuse mount, I threw off the measurement, which I did. The perfect length. I already know Tessa tape is flame retardant, so it makes perfect first layer. Also, this is not sponsored by Tessa tape. I just mention it by name because I used to use this stuff in the Air Force and I've always liked it and gravitated towards it. A little jumper wire. That's warm. Marker lights, horn, headlights. All of which I should probably ops check before I wrap with lube, but I'm feeling a bit spicy, so I'll take the chance. The zip ties that I had on here were just a temporary place marker. The factory harness on this car had green ties that held the wire in place, and because I have such extreme OCD, I actually found an original set of the green ties used by Toyota on this car. Note the Toyota part number, so that way it'll be exactly the way it should look. The original ground for all these front circuits was a white with a black stripe wire. So to make it legit, I'm using a Denso branded black Sharpie. That is the only official way to authenticate a wire to be designated as a Denso part. And you almost can't even tell the difference. I'm going to make a mess. Oh yeah, it's making a mess. Get this out of the way for now. You may see a rat's nest. I see a bundle of potential. That was an electrical joke if you didn't catch that. Now all this stuff did work, but I'm gonna wait until I start it up one last time before I loom it. Green with black. Yeah, that would really suck if I would have crossed my turn signals and put this on the wrong side. So, green, yellow. That is the original headlight relay. The reason why I went with a 1985 Toyota Celica engine bay fuse box is that way I could replace all of these old relays with a centrally located fuse and relay box to control everything in the engine bay. Red and black. This right here is hopefully good math. The next step in systemically making sure everything up here is done, belt, properly sized hopefully. If you take notice right here at the marks on my belt tensioner, the belt I'm using is not quite tight enough. It was a bit of a guessing game since I made some changes to the routing of my accessory drive and deleted some stuff. So I just kind of had to see what belt would work. And I went with this. Take note at my belt routing because I am dumb. That was a bit of a joke. Pop this off. Some of you got it. Going down from a 6PK 1535, which is 1535 millimeters, to 1520. I mean, 15 millimeters is not that big of a difference, so look at that. Oh, that's good. I could maybe drop down to a 1510, but I'm gonna give this one a shot, and I think this is gonna be good to go because the 35 didn't squeal or slip or anything, so I need to tap the signal for the ECU to the alternator. It is a 4-wire alternator, but I'm just tying it into the yellow circuit for the dummy light on the dash. That should be plenty sufficient. Parts came in. A brand new OEM inner shift boot. I don't think I mentioned this in the last videos that I did on the transmission after I had it cryo treated and freshly rebuilt, but I also have a performance short shift kit for it. I've always been a big fan of the Aijin W58 as far as the shifter feel goes, so this is gonna make an even more improvement on that, which I can only imagine how good this is gonna be. What? These holes don't line up. It is a OEM shipped boot, just from a different model Toyota. But luckily, the middle frame from my Celica was in perfect condition. It's the same size, just make the holes in the rubber where they need to be. I don't think I can get this thing to clear it. I'm gonna have to trim the rubber a bunch. For the same reason, I had to trim out the body of the car right here since the transmission sits a little bit further back. This rubber boot is pressing against the other rubber boot because this frame has to get so close. This is a perfect job for nibbler. Not that nibbler. It's definitely a highly skill involved tool, but man, these things are handy when you need them. That's probably good. I'm probably yelling. I think that will give me enough clearance. I feel like I can get hardware in there now. After a quick trip over to Arizona Barbecue Outfitters, Dave helped me out with his plasma table to turn all of these cardboard templates into actual physical pieces of steel that will soon become the brackets. Oh, it's a smoker?
Some guy in California is having this build. We're insulating it. It's got Ceratec insulation in between the whole thing. It's called a snake method. So you fill it all up with charcoal or whatever, charcoal is what they do it with. And you light it on one side, and because of the baffle, it doesn't let that side light.
Look at that, you get a nibbler and a bender in the same video. It's about a week later. I just got back from SEMA. Now that these are all cut out, that looks like a horse, a badly drawn horse. Okay. You know, it's serious when I have to do this. Ouch. I don't really have a game plan on how I'm going to do this. I just know that I got to do it. From the factory, there was a piece that bolted in right here and attached to the inside of the fender to keep rocks and crap from flying into your door jamb. In this envelope contains a material that was expensive. And also super moldable when heat is applied. So this thing right here is a shapelator, I think. Yeah, I made a template for this before, but I've since changed plans on how I'm gonna do it. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. This is not gonna be easy to make. I mean, you know what? It almost is usable as is. I just have to modify the bottom where I massage it. But it doesn't go into the, I feel like right about here, all this area is different. And the rubber is not gonna work either. That's what he said. When in doubt, use the factory stuff because nothing fits better than factory, even when it's modified. Unfortunately though, the rubber weather stripping around these panels is no longer available, nor does anyone make an aftermarket version. But I did find some that is almost identical that I think I can make work. Can I snip it? It's thin. I can. Well, it's thin, but not as thin as I thought it would be. I wonder if I can use heat to get this off. I'm gonna keep this rubber undercoated, but this is old and it has to be new. There's no surprise to what is coming next. A little bit of Blaster 5000. This stuff's pretty powerful. It's don't use it on anything you don't want to ruin. Powerful enough that it's actually taking some of this rust off. That's why you wear PPE, people. I don't think it'll do anything to this old tar, but it's worth a shot. That's crazy. Get rid of the bad stuff. Put a little bit of phosphoric acid on any of the corrosion. Whilst I allow that metal to do alchemy, I now have this. Had I been intelligent, I would have brought all this stuff over to Dave at the same time instead of making 2 trips. Oh, I suck again. That right there will keep small rodents from becoming stir-fry in the bell housing of the transmission. These guys right here are the lines going to the slave cylinder, and being that they are the lowest hanging point with the exception of the pumpkin, the collectors, and the oil pan, I don't want them to get smashed. Could utilize, this doesn't need to be super fancy and I'm getting too carried away already. I want it to look factory, but I also want it to be nice. It'll bolt on right here. These tabs will be bent up with holes in the side for these to go through. It will act as a little bash guard. It will sit flush. I think that'll work. All of this fabrication that is going on in this video will hopefully be the last big bulk of stuff I need to do the rest of the assembly. And I'm not sure why this didn't have nut plates in it to begin with. There. This is one of those situations where I need a right angle drill. I should have did this when I had the fender off, but it's not coming off now. That phosphoric acid did its job. You can see it changed the iron oxide into iron phosphate. That will bolt into place. And then this, I will make out of the plastic material and affix it right there as a little form of an inner splash guard. These are not the tubes I was looking for. And now the piece I was dreading the most. Oh geez. Oh geez. I don't like any of these mounting locations, to be honest. Version 2.0. I do believe it'll be smarter to mount my oil filter over here. Keeping in mind all these wires will be tightly wound and tucked into that corner, I'll have a direct downward path for the oil to drain when I'm taking the filter off. I can even add a little chute right here to help guide any drips. The lines going to the engine don't have far to go right here. The lines going to the oil cooler, however, will be a bit of a challenge, and it might be more intelligent to route some hard pipe going straight down and a short hose connecting it. Either way, I think it's better than mounting it up here upside down. So, also worth noting, the correct oil filter that will be on here is half the size of the one you currently see. That would go down here. I want this bracket to match the bumper bracket exactly, so that way it looks factory. That, and it bolts just like that. Should probably elongate these holes. It gives me adjustability. As far as this bracket goes, I think the metal is a little bit too thick of a gauge. Get to the chopper. Jeez. Essentially, I made a spider bite so I can elongate it. And for obvious reasons, all the brackets I made aren't gonna stay bare steel, which means I need to actually test them. Tech tip, put this thing on a lanyard so you don't lose it. I'm telling you this tech tip because I am going to lose this thing inevitably 2 more times before I put it on a lanyard. Going full coconut head mode. It doesn't do that bad of a job, and the rest can be smoothed out with a Dremel. The amount of time that it takes to make these brackets, I could have removed and replaced the engine 3 times. Bracket. Allow me to de-coconut real quick. I got enough flyaways that I could fly away. Having my electronics bouncing around underneath the dash is trash. So this has to happen. Bracket ready for zinc. Boba ready for drink. This is the one I'm the most nervous about because this is the most difficult bracket to fabricate. My apologies in advance for the bad lighting. This isn't Hollywood. I'll go like that. Oh my god, it's perfect. It's literally perfect. The Sharpie's not deep enough. This one's kinda eyeballing it and guessing it, but that's okay. Oh my god, I can't do it. Ouch! I would argue that brackets are the most important thing on a car because it's the difference between your electronics working and not working. That's a tricky one to drill. By doing this, it'll make the zinc have more of a glossy finish than a mattified finish, which will look OE. One of the major differences between a homemade bracket and a factory bracket is factory brackets have these little dimples made in them to increase structural rigidity, as well as the metal is stamped into a little lip along the edges in some places to increase rigidity and strength. Unfortunately, that is one of the things that I cannot replicate, and in case you were hoping that I was going to show you a magic way to make it look like I can, I'm not that smart. So, that's good. I drilled in the right spot, so that's good. That takes care of the 2 difficult ones. It barely slides in, but it's tight. That's what he said. The plastic has a little pawl that attaches to the metal tab right here, so I need a hole. Oh, that's just waiting to take out my forehead. Damn it! These things are junk. So if I cover this in dry erase marker, then I should, in theory, see where it rubs when I insert it, and I can know where to trim it. It almost fits. I also have to take into account the thickness of the zinc plating, which I have no idea what that actually is, so I'll just guess. Test again. After a couple more tweaks in the bench grinder and my Dremel, it's the final test. I got my notch. Now let's wait and listen and see if you hear a click. Ta-da! Look at that. That is locked in there. Now I gotta release it, pull up, just like that. Done. Multiple days worth of work, difficult to film, but I'm glad I made these. The next video I film on the Celica will finally be fabricating the exhaust system for it. The same guy that did the headers will be making the full cap back. As soon as all my brackets are back from zinc and powder coating, I can then assemble the rest of the electrical stuff. And in this big pile of bubble wrap is a brand new genuine OEM 1UZ front sump oil pan that I will modify to make it clear the anti-sway bar. And then the final fabrication challenge will be doing the radiator cooling fan assembly, making an intake as well as a strut tower brace / X brace. I'm sure a lot of you are excited for this project to come to a conclusion as much as I am, so I can get started on the next one, but I am not going to rush in the 10th hour. I don't even know, is that a sports reference? Regardless, I want to make sure this is done properly and this is a good, sound, drivable car and not a pile of crap because I rushed it for making a YouTube project. So, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you soon with another. Bye!